Hey everybody, real quick before I get started, I want to tell you guys about something new that I'm trying out. I started a new Discord server. It's called One Mic. There is a link to the Discord in the episode description, and there will continue to be a link in the episode description for all subsequent videos. The reason I want to do this is because I wanted to give us all a space to collectively talk about all of the shows that I'm covering, so we don't have to talk across each other in the comments, or maybe miss some comments or miss some replies. I think it's a good place for us fans who are fans of the shows that I cover, fans of this channel, whatever that may be, for us all to get together and just kind of like talk about the show. So what I did was I created the server, and then I created channels within it for each show that I'm covering at that time. Right now it's set up to cover the, I think, 4 or so shows that I'm covering right now, and then I've added channels for shows that I'm going to be covering in the month of December that I know for sure. And then as I'm covering shows will cycle in and out. So like once I'm done covering a show, a channel will be deleted, and then once I start covering a show, a new channel will be added. So check out that Discord. I look forward to talking to you guys, and now let's talk about this episode. Peace.
One mic, one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. One mic. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, where I watch shit so you don't have to. And today I'm here to talk about Season 2, Episode 5 of HBO's The White Lotus, entitled That's Amore. This episode title revolves around the song that Mia plays after she flirts her way into a temporary job replacing the piano guy who we found out is not dead. He actually survived his ruthless drugging at the hands of Mia, and he'll be back for his next gig on Thursday. But in the meantime, Mia uses her sexuality in a way that she has already decided that she is going to do. She likes to use sex to get what she wants, or now I don't want to say to get what she wants, but she likes what she knows the outcome. In this case, she didn't actually use literal sex, but she used metaphorically, she used the topic of sex to kind of coerce her way into getting this job from Valentina. But ready to talk about this episode. There's a lot I want to discuss. I found this episode to continue to add to how compelling this season has been so far. I'm getting more and more invested in each of these, in the stories of each of these groupings, particularly the one that's I've been calling up to this point the couples, which is Harper and Cameron and Harper and Cameron. Is that a little bit of what do they call it? What's that? Fuck, I'm forgetting that the psychology term. Harper and Cameron. Harper and Ethan, and Cameron and Daphne. Man, it's bugging me. I can't remember that term. Freudian slip. That's what I'm thinking of. Freudian slip. But I'm gonna start with the couples actually, because again, I continue to find them the most compelling grouping of this show, and I think that this season is doing the most with that group. Like, they're meant to be the focal point. So when we first see Ethan and Harper, we see them having the conversation that we were anticipating them having, the conversation that revolves around the condom wrapper that Harper found the previous, by this point, 2 nights ago, because she spent the entire previous day trying to coerce Ethan into voluntarily telling her about it, unsuccessfully. But they have the conversation that we've been waiting for them to have. And Harper's blown away that Ethan went as far as he did. Now, granted, Ethan's like, I didn't do anything. As in, like, I didn't have sex with anybody. But she's pretty appalled that Ethan did Molly with hookers. And keeping in mind, too, there's probably some extra resentment there because of her doubts about the healthiness of their marriage, and probably also how much she's contributed to the perceived issues. And she's also mad that he withheld the full truth. And you got to think, too, that's only going to further exacerbate her doubts about the marriage, because you're going to think, like, I came home and I told you everything, and you withheld information from me, to your own detriment, by the way, to protect the guy that we collectively don't even like. And the wild thing about that is they probably both believe that they collectively don't like Cameron, but I've made the case, and I'll die on this hill. I'm making the case, and I'm going to continue to make it, that they both actually do like Cameron, just in 2 different ways. I'm standing firm in my prediction that Ethan is maybe not like he's just gay, but he's interested in exploring another man, with that other man being Cameron. And I also stand firm in my prediction that Harper's interested in him as well, because he represents risk, danger, excitement, all these things that Harper seems to theoretically be yearning for. and is missing in her kind of like vanilla marriage with Ethan that has no sex because she doesn't like doing it in the morning and he's too tired to do it at night. But because of this revelation, revelation, but because of how Harper feels about Ethan's revelation. Actually, before I even continue, how about Ethan going like, you should actually feel pretty good about this? Like, what the fuck? Like this, I know that's one of those situations where women hear men say shit like that and they're just like, man, what the fuck? Like, you should actually, it sounds like Fresh Prince, or when Will started dating one of Carlton's girlfriends, and Carlton figured out because the ex got sick and then Will got sick, and Will's like, I did it to help you, I did it to protect you from something I don't know about yet. That's what it feels like we're on our way toward doing here, is that it's gonna be like, I'm doing this to protect you from something that you don't even know about. Yeah, that's why you're keeping this secret, to protect Harper, not to protect yourself. I thought that was a hilarious question. But let's see, where am I on Harper? So now Harper has a full-on attitude over the course of this day, and we see several scenes where she, in essence, inadvertently, I think, well, not inadvertently, I just think she didn't care, alerts Cameron to the fact that Ethan might have told her more info than Cameron probably expected him to. She asks a bunch of intrusive questions about sex, whether they've had threesomes, whether or not they've seen each other have sex. But the most interesting thing that came out of this dinner scene is when Ethan and Cameron kind of go at it. Ethan makes this assertion that Cameron has, I think it's like a mimetic, I can't remember the terminology for it, but it essentially is, if you see somebody who is, I guess, superior to you, you are going to want the things that they desire. And this came up in the context of Cameron always fucking girls that Ethan liked when they were in college. And Cameron's like, why would I be jealous of you, or kind of deal? And, Ethan's like, well, I'm smarter than you. So essentially, he kind of says, like essentially, if you, I can't get this thought out because it's like I don't think it's a ridiculous thought. I just think it's funny. But it's essentially like, he's like, I'm smarter than you, so you think that by fucking the girls that I want, you're like fucking my brain and getting info and getting smart. Like, that's kind of what he says. And I think that's funny, but I also think there's a lot of truth to that, to the idea of like, if you respect somebody, he says it, Ethan frames it in an insulting way. Trying not to frame it in an insulting way, I think there is something to be said about, if you admire someone or respect or look up to them, there is going to be a part of you that's going to want what they have, or is going to look at what they desire as something that's meant to be desired. So if he looks at Ethan as like, Ethan desires that girl and I'm jealous of Ethan's intellect, then that must be the type of girl that I should want. And then he also has like, okay, I have a better ability to get this girl. So he can kind of like pump himself up a little bit. But I think there's a lot to that point. So Ethan should probably be watching his wife a lot more closely if Cameron has a desire to fuck things that Ethan covets. so he might want to keep an eye on that, especially, since Cameron starts feeling her up a little bit later. But we'll talk about that in a moment. Later, Harper also flirts with the, what do you call it? The sommelier or whatever? What do you call the little wine guys? I don't know how to pronounce it. I don't go to wineries, but I believe, I think I've watched enough television and movies to know that the wine guy is called a sommelier. I don't even know what it means, how to spell it, but I feel like I've heard that a lot. But we'll call him the wine guy for now, since I'm not 100% sure on the terminology. We also see a moment where Ethan and Cameron talk about how much Ethan has revealed. And a lot of you guys in the comments were like, I think Cameron left the condom wrapper on purpose. And I bought that. I buy that. Like, I definitely think that that's something Cameron would do and possibly did. But in this scene, he does seem genuinely surprised that the condom was found there. And given everything that happened in this episode, particularly the scene I just talked about where Ethan says that Cameron always took his girls, it suggests that he did put it there on purpose. And but still, in that moment, he did seem genuinely surprised. But if this is a thing where he is working toward taking what Ethan has or what Ethan covets, whether that's his wife, helping Ethan to part with some of his money, I think that's probably how Cameron subsists, right? Because we see him struggling to even pay Lucia, what does he owe? What did they owe them like $1,000 or something like that? Like as rich as he paints 1,000 euros, as rich as he paints himself out to be, this should be nothing. But he's kind of like dancing around paying her, but he's living this lavish life. And they said something about him like he has Bernie Madoff type friends. What if he just subsists on like ripping people off? So this whole thing, you know, maybe he wants to, you know, help, like I said, help separate Ethan from some of his money. And if he could separate Ethan from his wife at the same time to the benefit of his dick, I'm sure he'll probably take that opportunity as well. But you can also see a layer of vengefulness in how Harper feels about Ethan as well. You know, she seemingly doesn't believe that Ethan had anything to do. I'm sorry, that Ethan did anything like, you know, overly wrong, because he definitely did some stuff wrong the previous night. But she seemingly doesn't believe that believe that Ethan didn't go too far, because she allows Cameron to touch her leg during this dinner, and I can't. And while she does technically stop him, I think we can all agree that she seemed kind of into it. And I've been saying all season that she seemed kind of into everything that Cameron's been kind of doing, like with the changing of the clothes in episode 1, the popping up underneath the water, and I think that was probably episode 2. This situation here in episode 5, like she just kind of seems to be into the shit that Cameron's doing, and I think it just kind of, like I said, I feel like it feeds into what she secretly wants. But she must not believe that Ethan stopped at the point of stopping kissing, which he did not do, by the way. Just because her behavior is not indicative of someone who believes that their husband behaved. Like the proper response to "I believe that you behaved" is not going to be "I'm going to let your friend from college feel me up." Like that's not the proper response. So she must not believe him, which is only going to make things a lot worse. And then later, her and Daphne talk, and Daphne essentially tells her to do what she needs to do in order to feel better about whatever it is that she believed happened. I bet if things play out how I think they will, I feel like fucking her husband is probably not the direction that Daphne's trying to steer Harper in, but it kind of feels that way. But I want to pose a question to you guys real quick before I wrap up this section on the couples. What the fuck was this situation with Daphne talking about this trainer? Because he's like, yo, you know, I got this trainer. And she seems to be suggesting that what she does to get over Cameron's infidelity is that she fucks this trainer on the side. And she's like, yo, I got this picture of him. He's like blonde. He's like blue eyes. Check this shit out. And it's a picture of her kid. And then she's like, well, this is just a picture of your kid. She's like, oh, whoops. Like, is it like pretending like she did it on accident? But then what is your goal in doing that on purpose? Is she suggesting that, is she trying to make it sound like what she does to feel good about Cameron is fucking her trainer, but in reality, it's focusing on her kids? Is she trying to say that kid is actually her trainer's kid and not Cameron's? Because why would she have a blonde? Well, no, she would have a blonde. But like, I don't know. I don't know what she's getting at with that. I hope it's that the baby is her trainer's and not Cameron's, because that will make things extra spicy. And then callback here, think about the one time Cameron looked decent. It was when he was talking about how much he admired Daphne when she was giving birth. Can you imagine Cameron finding out that in that moment that he had that admiration for her, that she was giving birth to someone else's kid? Can you fucking imagine that? That'd be incredible. And that would shoot Cameron to the top of my list of people who are probably killing motherfuckers out here. But that's all I got for the couples. I want to move on to the DeGracios / Mia / Lucia. So Alby has a morning smash sesh to start this episode with Lucia. And he realizes after the fact, well, he doesn't realize, she essentially tells him that she is a prostitute. But she actually seems kind of cool about it. Like, oh, you didn't know, you don't have to pay me this time, and I actually like you. And I felt like at the end of that conversation, they had reached a point where they both agreed, like, okay, hey, I'm a prostitute. He's like, okay, I understand that. She's like, but you don't have to pay me because it was a mistake. Oh, thank you. I actually really like you. I like you too. Like, it felt like that's where they were moving from. And then you, again, call back the conversation that she had with Mia, where she's kind of like seemingly doubting continuing in the prostitute business. So in this moment, post morning smash sesh is really hard to say. Very easy to write. Very difficult to say. In this moment, I felt like they were leaving this scene with the the mutual understanding that they both genuinely liked one another. But she also mentioned this Alessio guy in this conversation, and she paints this guy as being her pimp. And we've never heard of this guy before. She's never mentioned having a pimp before. And it just makes you wonder, like, does she actually have a pimp and the show has just failed to let us know that up to this point, which I highly doubt? Or is she taking advantage of Alby's naivete and his goodness? And it's kind of like, oh yeah, you don't have to pay me. I really like you, but I do got this pimp and he might beat my ass if I don't pay him. So, like kind of manipulating him there. And we later see her talking to a guy who does get kind of like rough with her. And she tells Alby that that guy was Alessio, but he could just be another guy who owes her money, just like Cameron. And we see her having a similar, not a similar in that there's no kind of like, there's no, I think visible anger in the conversation with Cameron, but it is very much a bitch better have my money talking to Cameron. Cameron's like, I ain't got it, but I'll get it to you soon. And now this could be just another guy who owes her another grand, just like Cameron does. But then she goes back to Alby and she's like, that was him right there. He does trip out a little bit sometimes. And I don't know, I'm feeling mixed emotions on this because I feel like the show's been very unclear with Lucia's motives. Because like I said, we had her seemingly having doubts about being a prostitute. I felt like they established that they liked each other, but then this Alessio thing feels like part of a con. Like, is it like I'm gonna use this Alessio guy, make him think I got somebody threatening me for Cameron's money, which by the way has shot Alby up to the top of my he might kill a motherfucker list to try to get money on her behalf. But it feels like that's where this is going. Like, I'm going to tell him that I have this pimp who is going to beat my ass if I don't give him the money that Cameron owes me. He's going to give me the money, and boom, boom, I've got some more money. Everything's great. And all I did was kind of sort of play this guy, but hey, I fucked him, so it evens out, right? But I think it's going to end up being a thing where Alby's going to confront Cameron, or Alby's going to front this guy that she's saying is Alessio, and one of them guys might end up killing Alby. Alby might kill one of them. I don't know, but I definitely feel there's going to be some Alby involvement in a death before this season is over. There's an interesting combo between Dom and Bert as well. Dom essentially blames Bert for how shitty of a husband he is. And Bert's basically like, that's on you. I could do whatever I want because my wife loved me and that's all that matters. It's just that simple. And Dom's like, you taught me how to treat women shitty. Like, you didn't set a good example. Dom's statements kind of felt like less like profound breakthroughs and more like deflection. Like, I don't know what you guys thought, but like, did that scene come off to you as like, wow, this is a real heartwarming scene with a father and a son trying to work through their own issues? Not necessarily heartwarming, but impactful scene where they're trying to work through these issues. Because for me, it just kind of came off like Dom doesn't really want to accept responsibility for his actions, and Bert is just like, yeah, I didn't give a fuck. She loved me, so I could do whatever I want. Like an exhibition of both of these guys being shitty people. So I don't know. That was kind of how I felt about it, because I'm looking at Dom like, man, shut the fuck up. And I don't know. I could also see a world where people look at it as like these two are having a breakthrough. So I don't know. You let me know what you guys think. And then lastly, before I get to a couple of closing thoughts, I want to talk about Tanya and Porsha. Tanya tells Porsha that Quentin and his merry band of gays have invited them to Palermo. They're going to go over there via yacht. And this is now the second episode with Tanya, Porsha, and Quentin and this collection of gay guys. And I'm still struggling to see where this storyline is going. At least I was. Because like I teased in the episode description, I have a theory that I think it's so good that it's got to be right. So, what led me here is I wondered, why abandon this fairly compelling storyline with Greg where it's like, okay, they're married now. They're clearly not getting along. He doesn't like her. He's talking to some chick on the side. He leaves like, oh, I have to go to a work thing. And we're just like, oh, he's going to see his side family. Like, all of it, like, that was a compelling storyline. Why would we leave that to tell this entirely new storyline where Tanya hangs out with this collection of gay guys and Porsha finds the guy to have her sexual fling with in Italy? Why would we leave that? So I actually, I'm gonna finish talking about where this goes, and then I'm gonna close with my theory close with my theory, and then I'm gonna do the thought. So I'm not gonna make you wait all the way to the end, but I'm gonna leave you for the moment with the question of why abandon the Greg storyline for this one. So mull on that, or like talk for a few moments about the Tanya Porsha storyline, and then I'll get to my theory. So they take this yacht to Palermo, and the place that these guys, these gay guys, take her to is like the fucking palace in Dorne on Game of Thrones. I'm like, is Prince Dorne gonna walk out here? This place looks amazing. How do they afford this place? It's absolutely insane. It's like a fucking palace. And Tanya goes with the guys to the opera, and Jack and Porsha go out to eat, and they do a dine and dash, and everyone's just having a good old grand and merry time. And this scene, side note, this scene at the opera where Tanya asked about, like, is that the Queen of Sicily? That felt like it was played to be funny, and it wasn't. But I don't know. But like I said, everyone's having a good time. Tanya and Quentin are like crying at this opera together. Jack and Porsha are just having this wonderful night on the town. And then we close out the episode with Tanya roaming the halls, following sounds of sex, only to arrive to see Quentin getting his cheeks clapped by Jack. And that's how we end the episode. So before I get into my thoughts, I do want to talk about my theory real quick. So like I said, why abandon the Greg storyline for this one? Starting from kind of like the top of my theory here, I've been feeling like Greg probably may or may not have had a terminal illness. I don't know. But let's say he did. He had the terminal illness in season 1. Him and Tanya fell for each other. And they say early this season it's something like, he used her money to pay for like fancy doctors to help him get better. And then once he found out he had more time, he has now been treating her like shit and doesn't really want to be around her. Then we've seen this season him, like I said, treating her like shit, and then having these weird, mysterious phone calls. Then he leaves, and then we instantly pick up the Quentin storyline. I'm wondering if Greg is not just a scam artist who maybe faked this terminal illness to try to get money out of Tanya, maybe even entered into a sham marriage in order to get money out of Tanya. We found out earlier this season that they got a prenup, so he's not going to get that money. What if he's not just a scam artist who's trying to get Tanya's money? What if he's gay and is in a group of scam artists? What if he was never actually talking to another woman, talking about love you, see you? What if he was talking to like the other gay guys, and this is all part of a long con where it's like, okay, I tried the terminal illness thing to get her money. That didn't work. I tried marrying her to get her money. That didn't work. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bail out. You guys move in. You get her for her money. We bring in Jack to distract Porsha because I think Quentin says to her at some point, like, you're just here with your assistant, right? I mean, Greg probably would have given him that information. Jack's brought in to distract Porsha while they manipulate Tanya. And Jack's really just there. He's not actually the nephew. I don't think we got an incest reveal here. I think Jack's just part of this group of con artists. And, his role in this con is to remove Porsha from the equation while Quentin and the other guys work over Tanya. And Greg is also involved in this. So, I think the reveal is going to be at the end that Greg was working with these guys. He's involved with these guys. He may even be gay with these guys. Or maybe they're not gay at all. I don't know. But I think Greg is colluding with these guys. And he's like, I tried this and this. It didn't work out. I'm going to dip out. You guys move in. You do your thing. And then we'll reconvene once we got that loot. That's what I think is happening here. Well, I can't say that's what I think. That's kind of like my tinfoil prediction, kind of, and not really because I don't really have any evidence for that. But I just feel like the secret conversations have been with Quentin and whoever else, and they've been ironing out this plan for Tanya. Because there was one of the calls, he's like, no, she has no idea, or she's clueless, or something like that. And of course, we're all sitting here thinking he's talking to another woman. Why would we sit there thinking like he might be talking to a group of gay con artists and he hasn't unearthed this plan yet? Like, no, that might be what's happening here. So I don't know. Let me know if y'all think I'm way off base with that theory, but I think it's solid. I'm just saying. So closing out with a couple thoughts. Valentina, she gets flirty with Isabella and she moves that Rocco guy, the other guy at the front desk who she keeps insinuating is harassing Isabella and also assumes how Isabella feels about it. Like, oh, you must can't stand that guy. She moves that guy to the beach, a beach lounge. She brings in a replacement who's super fucking weird and creepy. And, she's continually assumed that Rocco has made Isabella uncomfortable. And I think the irony here is, after Isabella was just polite to her, and by the way, I am willing to admit I was wrong about Valentina, it being a thing about respect. It very much is an attraction, a sexual thing with Valentina, not a power thing or a respect thing. So I was wrong on that. I did say I didn't rule out it was sexual. I just said, what if it's also this? But I'll take the L. It was not that. It is very much a relationship thing. But I think the irony here is, I'm struggling with some words here. The irony here is she pulls Rocco away, kind of like, hey, I'm sure that guy's creeping you out because men, right? And then she's taking a simple compliment and is now like, oh, I heard you mention this store. Here's a gift. Here, I'll move this guy away. Now I'm smiling at you and talking to you and being super nice to you and moving this guy away that I think you actually like being around. It's like she's doing to Isabella what she's assuming men are doing to Isabella. And Isabella's probably in a place where, like, I'm fine with what's happening here. You're the one that's making it weird. And now the irony is that Valentina might think that because she's gay and that being a creep doesn't go that way. Like, it's like being a creep is always man creep, woman freaked out by it. Since that's the only way that can happen, and from Valentina's perspective, she probably doesn't see that she's the one who's being the creep right now. She's the one who's being off-putting. And I think that Isabella here is getting into a place where she's like, okay, I liked having Rocco here. I don't like what you're doing. And I think that's going to turn somewhere too. I think all of these can kind of result in like a death. Like Isabella spurns Valentina. Valentina kills Isabella. Greg returns. What my theory turns out to be true. Tanya kills Greg. Alby, like I said, I gave the one about Alby already. So maybe that's how we end up with multiple dead bodies. I also want to point out too that this is now the first time that I've actually laid out multiple theories about who might be dead and why. But I think that's a testament to how good this season is done with these characters, that I've been way more invested in what happens with these characters than I have been in this murder mystery that I keep forgetting even exists. I haven't looked for clues for it or anything like that. But one last thing, a couple of things really. I think Jennifer Coolidge's shtick is getting a little old. Like I said, I didn't like the one scene that I thought was supposed to be funny with the Queen of Sicily thing. She has this weird, almost like it's like a conversation, but it's really a monologue. She's talking about witches at this table, and I'm thinking like, this is supposed to be funny, I think, but it's not working for me. I just think the Jennifer Coolidge's the unique characteristics that Jennifer Coolidge has brought back into television post, because she kind of was gone for a little bit. I think she was popping when American Pie came out. Then she got popping again fairly recently. And I feel like the uniqueness that she's brought back into television and film has kind of worn off really fast. At least for me. I don't find it all that much entertaining anymore. Oh, and that's it, actually, because the last two things I mentioned during the course of talking about those scenes. So that's all I got. Let me know what you guys think about my awesome fucking theory and how right it is. Let me know what you think about Valentina and Isabella. Let me know, what was the other thing I wanted you guys to let me know about? The picture that Daphne showed Harper with the kid. Like, what was that whole story about the trainer? What was that supposed to mean? I gave my thoughts. Let's hear yours, and I will see you guys next week for the penultimate episode of season 2, episode 6. And until then, peace.